Right, today's video is gonna be going a bit everywhere because I didn't write anything, but I just want to talk. I just want to share a little bit my story. And I watched a video recently where a guy talked about his trauma and the way he felt and his emotion and what he was feeling inside him, and he really spoke to me. I felt finally understood. I felt I was not alone in that situation where, struggling with trauma. And I just literally finished to write my book about trauma, where I share a little bit about my story, what I went through, and how to recover from trauma and how to get out of that dark mindset and stopping feeling so feeling like the trauma is you, and seeing like yourself. And yes, I went to trauma, but it doesn't define me. And I finally literally finished that book yesterday night in bed. I finally finished it, and I'm really proud of myself. And I was like, I want to share a little bit about my story. Like you saw in the title, I want to talk about the person with the trauma life for 26 years. And for that, I need to put a bit of background in my story. As you may know or not know, I come from Belgium. I'm living in the UK, and there's a reason why I moved to the UK. For 12 years, I would say, I cannot say the word, otherwise the YouTube robot gonna cancel me and the video will never be out. I'm gonna try to say it like a different word. So for 12 years, someone used me, someone close to my family, my godmother, used me for 12 years. And that had a massive impact on my life. As you can imagine, it had like a big impact on your life if that happens. And when I was 12 years old, my grandmother also died. My grandmother was the best person I think you could ever meet. I know most people are gonna say that. In my eyes, it was genuine. There is even someone who used to know her, and someone my age, a little bit younger than me, who also got a tattoo about her, a tattoo of her on the arm, and she's not even part of the family. She just was so impacted by my grandmother when she grew up that she decided to tattoo my grandmother on the arm. I got a tattoo about my grandmother and my dad as well. The church when she died was full. Like, there was not even one person who could come in. There was people outside the church. It was unbelievable, and she was my role model. She was my hero. She meant everything to me. And when she died, and when me being used stopped, I think something changed in me. I just stopped living. For 12 to 23 years old, I was just a ghost. I was so numb. I was not happy or unhappy. I was just numb. I was not even living or existing anymore. I was just like going through the day, going through life, not even realizing what I was doing, what I was feeling. I've no idea what happened from I was 12 to 23 years old. The only way I can remember is when I see pictures of that time, and I'm like, yeah, I think I remember a little bit about that, but I couldn't really tell you what happened during those years. I got some flashbacks and some memories, but they're not in order. Sometimes they don't make sense, so I'm not sure if I relive them or not. It's really weird. And that was like from when I was 12 to 23. Then I met my no wife, and that changed everything. I start to live again. I start to feel. I start to be happy again. But that also like changed a lot in me. I start to feel, and because I couldn't feel for 23 years old, or a decade if we take from 12 to 23, because I couldn't feel, and I was so dissociated with reality. I just, my head was somewhere and my body was somewhere else, and they were not connecting. So when I start to just feel and live and breathe and realize what was going on, and it's just like I allowed myself to feel but way too much. I was going, and I'm still going right now, into stages of depression. And I have no reason to be depressed anymore, because I'm working weekly with my therapist to go over my trauma. I wrote a book about it. I opened my own space with my own studio. I quit my job. I've no reason to not be happy, but I got what we call the survival guilt. I mean that when you survive a trauma, you cannot allow yourself to be happy. You feel guilty and ashamed to be happy. You feel guilty and ashamed to feel some good feelings because you feel like you shouldn't feel them. That is, you should be sad and depressed and all those things. So at the end, you are so guilty and ashamed that you end up depressed. And that's what's going on with me, and it's been going on for since I met my partner. Not because I'm with her, but because I can feel now, I can finally be happy, I can finally express my emotion. And I still struggle a lot to express what's inside me. When I never get excited, if we get something that can be like, we recently got a new TV, amazing TV, a really big one, and it's like more like a cinema than a TV, if I'm being honest. And I didn't even smile once. I was happy inside, I was really excited, but I cannot express my emotion. So that's still something that is there. But the problem is, because I'm not a ghost anymore, because I'm not that dissociated anymore, and I can, my brain, my body are more often one, I allow myself to feel and re-feel what I put in a box. I allow myself to grieve my grandmother. I allow myself to hate my godmother. I allow myself to relieve everything. And that's why for me my recovery is taking maybe a bit longer or not long. It depends. There's no timeline to recover from a trauma. You may be okay after a month, 2 months, a year, 10 years. But I always use the analogy. If someone gained weight in a period of 10 years, went from a extra small to a extra large on a period of 10 years, it won't take them 1 week to lose weight. It's gonna take them years to go back to, I don't know, small or medium or whatever. It's gonna take them years. It won't happen in 1 week. And it's the same for trauma. My trauma went over 12 years. And then for 10 years after that, I stopped feeling anything. I just put a lock on my heart and create a wall so big between me and the world that I didn't care. I didn't care at all about anything and anyone and nothing. And when I start to pull that brick down, or pull that brick wall down and start to feel things, it just, I think, went too much, and all the shame and the guilt just are overwhelming and something that I cannot control. And that's why I'm keep seeing my therapist every single week. And when I have a break, I don't feel good. I feel like I'm pausing in time, and I want to keep progressing, and I want to get over it, because I want to be able to accept and allow myself to be happy. I want to be able to not be ashamed and not feel guilty to be happy, to have an amazing wife, 2 amazing dogs, my own space, my own studio, my own business, that everything is going well for me. I want to accept it and feel happy about it and be able to express the emotion about it, and not just be numb or showing numbness where I'm actually happy about it. All of those things, of course, are linked by trauma. And for years I was my trauma. Even when I was dissociated and numb and didn't care and a ghost, it was me being my trauma. It was not me being me. It was just me, my trauma taking over me and taking over my life. I realized with time that it was not about, I want to win and I want my godmother to lose and I want to win in life. And it was not about winning or losing. It was just about, I don't care. I just want to be able to understand who I am next to the trauma. Because the trauma shaped me, because it happened when I was a kid, it shaped me. If the trauma happened to you when you're an adult, it's gonna change you, but it won't shape you. If the trauma happened when you were a kid, it's gonna shape you. So I was shaped around that being used. For me right now, it is like, I don't care about it happened, and I need to now work on myself to see the good in me, because I care so much about people, probably way too much. I got the superhero kind of symptom where you want to help everyone and do everything for everyone, and I want to be able to use that good in me and put my anger on the side, put my hate and choose that pure anger on the side. I want to crush that wall down and find out the light in me, and that's the work I want to do now, and I've been doing for a few months now with my therapist. But with her, it was also finding out what was really the problem, was trying to find and understand what was going on in my head, because there are some words I could never say, or I could never explain what happened. I could never put word on what happened, even when I was talking to myself in my head and trying to understand, or when I had flashbacks, I never had words. I just had pictures, and I could never say the word who start with a P that I cannot say on YouTube, but it start with a P, and it's happened when you're being used. So find out what it is. I think it's an easy guess, but I could never say that word in my head, on paper, out loud. And for me, it was, before we start working on the emotion and starting to work on who I really am, is first being able to unlock that trauma, setting me free and breaking it down per part, and that's what we did. And now the work is healing that anger, healing those emotions, not feeling ashamed every single day because I'm happy or I should be happy, but I don't want to allow myself to be happy. And that leads us to, it's not my godmother who ruined my life for 26 years. It's myself. I ruined my life for 26 years because I didn't allow myself to, I didn't do anything to get better for a decade. And then I just was so negative in my head, and I was so ashamed and guilty that I ruined my life for 26 years. So I don't want to blame anyone. Of course, what happened is awful, and no kids ever should go through that, or anyone, not only kids, but anyone never should go through that ever. And it's awful, and it's something so difficult to get over, especially when it happened for years and years and years, and that and happens a good amount of time. I don't want to shame anyone. I just want to acknowledge that I ruined my life for 26 years because I didn't do anything to change it. I was just accepting what was and not caring and living in that pure numbness and I don't care environment. I don't care what happened. I don't care. And I was overwhelmed by exercise addiction. I was overwhelmed by not eating enough. I was overwhelmed by all of those feelings. I think now that I'm doing the work to get over it, it's still a long way to finally set free of all those feelings. And I'm proud for where I'm coming from. I'm really proud. Most people wouldn't recognize me. Most people that knew me before, when I was like 18 or even like 20, they wouldn't recognize me physically and mentally. I changed so much physically, a lot. I went through being at that chubby kid to being the opposite of being chubby. Never smiled once. I never laughed once. I was faking emotion. I was just numb and dissociated. So people won't recognize me today. So I did a lot of progress. I evolved a lot during those years, and I'm really proud of who I'm becoming. Trauma is difficult. Any type of trauma is gonna be difficult to overcome. And remember, always remember that communication is key. Again, I wrote it in my book. I did a lot about communication. Most people won't understand what you are going through or what you went through because they didn't go through what you went through, and it's normal that they don't understand. And so we get frustrated because we feel like misunderstood or not listened to, or they don't care. They care, but in their own way, and they cannot understand your pain, because you cannot even understand your pain either. You are like so overwhelmed by those feelings and that dissociation and those PTSD and all of that, that you don't even understand your own pain. So how can you expect other people to understand your pain? You just need to try to communicate. And if you had enough, say, I had enough, I want to go. If you say that you don't want to talk, you don't want to talk. If you say that you don't understand your pain, you are allowed to say that you don't understand your pain, but you need to learn to communicate and not to say, well, they won't understand anyway, they don't care, they care, but they will never care as much as you want them to care. Not because they're not your friends or your wife or your parents or whatever. It's just, for them it's also difficult to imagine you going through that trauma, and they also create that blockage to protect themselves. And you need to understand that they are trying to protect themselves, because sometimes it can be too much for them to handle, and they don't know how to handle that kind of pain. If someone said that they broke the leg, they will say, oh, okay, they may be able to identify or find a solution, like, oh, okay, maybe you should do that, or go to that doctor, or can I bring you some food, or can I do something for you, should I do the shopping for you? And it's easier to find a way to help. But when you said they've been used for years, or that you went in, I don't know, in a car crash or wherever, for some people, they cannot comprehend that pain, that fear, that anxiety, and they will react like you broke your leg when you want them to react like you died, or like you lost a piece of yourself. And that's gonna be, you need to understand that part. They care, but they won't understand, and that's the main thing in all of that. But yeah, like I said, I could talk for hours about that subject, because there's so much to say about it. There's so many different type of trauma, so many different type of people, so many different type to handle. But the main thing is communicate. Go seek help if you feel like you cannot go through that all by yourself, and don't let trauma define you. And also, last one, don't let yourself ruin your life. I'm gonna end up the video here. Like I said, I could talk a lot more, but that video will be like hours and hours long. And if you want, I can send you my book that I just finished to read. If you went to trauma and you want to understand a little bit more about what, like, scientifically and psychologically what's going on in your head, just let me know and I can send it to you or whatever. But anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please give it a thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.